Hello and welcome to another episode of Randomer Nintendo. Did we skip a week?
No.
No? Is this just a normal cadence? Wow.
Well, the way you said random or
think it
Nintendo
just-
certainly wasn't normal cadence, but no.
Okay,
If anything,
well,
we're closer together because we did our last episode so late in the week. This one's a day late
something
as
feels
well,
off.
but this one's a day late because we were holding out for the Apple stuff today. But the last episode went up on Thursday, and now this one, the week later, the subsequent Thursday's Tuesday, 10 days later instead of 14. In other words.
Well, was the wait worth it? I guess we'll find out soon on episode 71. And yeah, like always, we have Kevin.
That is me. I wasn't ready to be first.
Yeah,
That's
there's
nice.
Kevining it up. And Jason as well.
Hi. Yeah, I was ready to be first, and then I got second fiddle. So that is life.
The fiddler, as Jason used to be referred to as.
No, never was.
I remember those years.
Wait,
Those are...
Being the fiddler,
Yeah, I remember that.
like on the roof.
Yeah.
That's the censored version, but yeah. Anyway.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, how have you guys been? I mean, the last time we chatted, I basically spoke for like an hour and a half, and
This is true.
I guess some stuff happened between. I mean, it's been relatively lax. I've just mainly been recovering from said injuries I mentioned during the trip from Japan. We recorded, I think, the Monday or Tuesday after.
No, it was like the Wednesday. We established it was very late on. We already established it was very late. I think it was like the Wednesday of the week. It should have gone up on a Monday. On that Monday.
No,
but we did
yeah.
that
But
Wednesday.
I'm trying to remember. That was the week I came back, essentially, or like the
No,
weekend.
it was
I
a
came
week
back.
after you were back. You were back a full week.
Okay, yeah. In that case, then I guess since we've last recorded, because I definitely haven't said this, I did learn that I indeed, I guess I fractured the base of my hand, which good recovering and all that. I think before that I was still wondering if I had actually broken it, but
You last left us and our listeners in bated breath of whether ChatGPT's guesstimate of what happened to your hand by feeding the MRI into ChatGPT was correct, and the answer is it sounds like it was?
It was, but what ChatGPT, I guess, didn't do was kind of, I guess, elaborate on the severity of it. Well, but actually, that is actually just no different than just looking up symptoms on, WebMD, and then just getting thrown worst case scenarios at you and just being like, oh, I guess I'm dying. But no, so it's nice to definitely, talk to the doctor and actually have it broken down on, what exactly that means. And as far as for recovery and all of that, because, torn ligament and dislodged tendon just sound really bad in my mind. But the fact that they're just things that heal over time without having to do anything else also seems incredible. So I'm like,
Yeah, the human body is pretty amazing.
definitely happy.
It really is if you think about it. Let's all think about it quietly to ourselves now.
Yeah, I'm just reflecting on how lucky I am. But I mean, what about you two? I mean, I haven't been playing any games, any shows, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, it's like the thesis statement of the podcast. I had
I don't host often.
I had espresso for the first time. Well, okay. I've had espresso inside tiramisu, but I've had espresso as a beverage for the first time yesterday. I drank coffee for the first time. And, I don't need to continue. It's fine. I was not missing much. That's how I've been.
Like espresso. Say that one more time.
I drank
the first
an
time you've ever had
espresso
coffee?
drink. I drank an espresso drink for the first time in my life, yes. I've had
Got it,
espresso
but you've had
flavor
coffee
in
before.
tiramisu. But yes, I had it was like an
Got it,
espresso
okay.
tonic citrus blend thing yesterday. Yeah, and it was fine. But I don't know. I can't do
We
coffee.
had just like black coffee before?
No. When I was a kid once. So when I was a kid, I one time wanted to try my dad's coffee, and I said, oh, it tastes how it smells. Like, I don't know how better to describe it, but like the taste and the smell were like identical, and that was weird to me. And then I just never felt the need to have it because, like, I went so far in life without caffeine at that scale. You know, I don't need caffeine in the morning, that sort of thing. So why start now? And then, Lincoln Park was but... like, we have a collab at a pop-up, and you should go get it. And me, being the sheep that I am, was like, all right, Lincoln Park, I'll go to Silver Lake and get your coffee. So I got the coffee. It was free thanks to the band, but I got the coffee. And then I was like, yeah, no, not missing much. I mean, the citrus and the tonic, it was like a floral tonic. It was actually, those parts are quite good and counterbalanced the espresso. But once it was like just the espresso, I was like, nah, I'm good. So
interesting.
Yeah,
but makes sense. But to kind of, I mean, not counter that because there's no countering taste. It is what it is. Like you like what you like.
Coffee is an acquired taste. I will recognize that though.
Yeah, but like similar to you, like exact same thing. You know, tried coffee growing up, disliked it. Didn't even like coffee flavored anything or just like the smell of coffee. Could also be due to the fact that my dad was a coffee sales rep. So I was kind of surrounded by coffee all the time. And yeah, even though I had tried it, just didn't think it was for me. Never. And in the same way, like I never needed like any caffeine boost, like even now. But at some point in the last 5 years, I decided to just give it a shot. And yeah, just straight black coffee. I think I had a couple concoctions of coffee in college, maybe, now that I think about it, once or twice, with the half and halves and the sugars. And I don't know, I remember also not really liking that. But when I tried coffee again, just straight black, I ended up really liking it. And now it's just something I have every day. I'll have like 1 cup in the morning. Not because I need it, just because I like that bitter taste in the morning when it's like really hot. And then that's pretty much it. And then I usually just have tea the rest of the day. But that was something, kind of like onions and just other things that over time changed. And then went from not caring about to like just enjoying it.
Tea I will swear by. I drink unsweetened black tea like all the time. Like every time I, like instead of soda or something, I'll just get like a nice tea. Like that's...
Do you like ginger lemon tea?
I like unsweetened black tea, as I just moments ago said. Actually, I don't know. Hot teas, I'm a little more...
I don't know if you've tried it. I mean, you
can
say you like something. It doesn't imply you haven't tried
I know.
anything else.
Hot teas I'm more adventurous about with all the different flavor combos and whatnot. I do like lemon.
Yeah, these are hot.
I do like ginger as separate entities, so I imagine I would like them together. But I don't like ginger ale. So...
Yeah, this tastes different. The smell is really, really great. I love how lemon ginger tea smells.
Kevin, where do you sit on the caffeinated beverage train of coffee and tea? Are you a coffee guy, a tea guy?
I'm not a coffee guy. I maybe a couple of years ago I tried getting into just black coffee just because I know the headache of going to a coffee shop with a friend or like getting coffee for somebody and being like, oh, what kind of coffee? Or like, how do you take it? And it was, black, but with like 3 creams and like 2 sugars and whatever. So,
oh god.
I tried to be just a black coffee guy, and I didn't really get into it. Like, I was like, this is okay, whatever. But recently I've gotten a lot into iced coffee, which I know it's a completely different type of experience from just regular coffee. I really like the caramel iced coffees from Dunkin' Donuts, or Dunkin' as it's now called.
I should clarify that my coffee espresso experience yesterday was iced. So if that makes a difference in anyone's worldview of my taste of coffee.
And espresso, it's kind of its own thing. Like coffee, I guess to testament to it, how different it could be. Just between espresso, black, iced, cold brew, or whatever those are. We have like a machine at work that's like, makes it's like pure concentrated cold brew or I don't know, that one's really intense. I tried it once, maybe too much because I felt like my heart was going to explode. I I could have probably enjoyed the taste, but no, that was just way too much. Like I said, I definitely don't drink it for the caffeine.
That was the other thing, admittedly, I was a little worried about when I went and got my Lincoln Tonic, Lincoln Park, LaMille Coffee Company collab drink. Was I was worried about like the caffeine because I'm not used to having that much caffeine. Like tea's like half a coffee,
yeah,
right?
you and your sensitive heart, damn.
I
yeah,
know, I mean, I don't have that sensitive heart, but I felt nothing. I mean, I drank it slow because I wasn't super into the coffee taste, but I didn't feel any like caffeine. Maybe I felt a little and didn't realize it, but I was also kind of driving around LA. So Lincoln Park's doing this whole pop-up scavenger hunt. There's 5 different things they're doing throughout the week, and you get a stamp card, and you fill out the stamp card, and you go to the concert, and you can win a backstage suite and stuff. So I've been running around LA trying to do the scavenger hunt, so I might have been distracted and not noticed the caffeine. But yeah, I was surprised I didn't feel a boost. The most caffeinated I've ever felt, because I know that's everyone's wondering what was the most caffeinated Jason ever felt. In Japan, when I went in 2017, well, you guys know Andrew, my friend Andrew and I went to our friend Andrew. We've all hung out. Our friend Andrew and I went to a Japanese tea house and got a bunch of different teas. And I think one of the teas was just straight up cocaine. I don't know, but I felt like I was like vibrating after drinking it. Like I was like shit. I have never felt that caffeinated. I was worried the coffee would do that. It didn't. Luckily, but like I was like, yeah, that's the closest I've ever been to drugs. I was like, is this drugs? Is this what? That's how I said it. Is this drugs? No, but it was crazy. Like I was worried coffee would do that, but it did not. So,
well,
yeah,
black tea for you.
Yeah,
but yeah, what about you, Kevin? No scavenger hunts around the tri-state area?
No scavenger hunts around the tri-state area. I'm unemployed. I'm currently unemployed, as I think last episode. I was still having. Oh, excuse me. I was still having my. I was still in my last week of work, and so I'm officially out of a job. By my own admission, I didn't get fired or anything. I just thought it was time for something new, and I did have a job interview in person down in San Diego actually last Friday, and I got offered the position, so I will not be jobless for long.
Nice.
Still haven't heard.
Congratulations.
Still haven't heard back from. Sorry, my throat is weird right now. No, thank you. Still yet to see if I will accept the position. I still have a couple of other routes that I can go. But we'll see. We will see.
This podcast might become multi-county if you're down in San Diego and we're up in LA. If everyone thought we talked a lot about the LA area, just wait till you hear us dive into the geography of Oceanside or something. But yeah.
Comic-Con commute's going to be a lot shorter, though.
That's true.
Kind of nice.
True. The place that I applied to, or it's not anywhere near downtown San Diego, so it'll still be probably a drive for me, but
not 2 hours.
Not 2 hours.
Yeah, we'll be knocking 2 hours from that drive.
Yeah. So what have you been doing? Like obviously you're job hunting and you're interviewing, but like, have you had some free time? Have you been doing anything in particular fun stuff?
I've just been at home, quite honestly. I've been working since without a break since like 2011, I believe. No, since about 2013. I've just been working without like a single
straight years.
break. Aside from like vacations from those jobs.
Right.
I've never really had some time to myself outside of that. So no, I've just been mainly at home. Like I said, I did go to San Diego last Thursday. I actually went down for the interview on Friday. And then Friday I stayed in San Diego for maybe a couple of hours after my my interview. Just hung out a little bit in San Diego.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, hey, there is something to be said for finally having like the downtime to just be able to just be home and do nothing essentially, or just consume things and not have to like worry about work. So I get where you're coming from with just like hanging out.
Is your backlog looking intimidating, or is it not even like you're just kind of vibing whatever you just feel like?
I'm just vibing with whatever it feels like. Like it's not. I'm not actively trying out new things just during this break. I'm just like to have a breather.
Yeah.
So,
and much deserved for sure.
I appreciate it.
But
agreed.
I guess speaking of, this is a horrible transition. Speaking of breather, I did catch a tiny bit of the Apple presentation. I just kind of like skipped around it.
I'm curious how this connects to breathers.
Barely. This is more like a passing thought, but there was a section when they were talking about the cooling and something they added inside cooling. Of the phone.
Yeah.
And for some reason, when I saw that, my first thought was, I wonder how quickly that'd kill you if you inhale it. And there we go.
Wow.
So, yeah, Jason, what do we think about Apple's big iPhone day? Because from what I saw, there was stuff. Like, I don't think
there
I
was
saw anything
stuff
that made me go like, oh, man, I need to upgrade my AirPods Pro 2 or whatever version I have. Or even the iPhone. Like, sure, the orange looks amazing, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't see anything that was too crazy.
It's interesting.
I don't know. Elaborate.
Jason, elaborate on why I didn't see anything crazy. It was interesting.
Yeah, did I just
elaborate
miss something?
on my mindset dumb? For me, please.
Am I blind?
Well, it was.
Should I have seen something amazing?
Were
those transitions impressive?
No, actually. Let's talk about that. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
The first time I saw it, I thought like that's kind of neat, but honestly, after the first one, I literally thought like this is taking too long.
Oh, see, I didn't have that problem. My problem. So every Apple presentation, I'm glad you brought this up because everyone talks about the products and the software and the hardware and the colors.
The presentation
and no one talks
is honestly
about the presentation. And one thing,
because
go ahead.
God, we're not getting that from Nintendo lately. So
well, that might change in a couple days. The presentation from Nintendo, rumor is end of this week.
Well, I like the fact that there's still some showmanship.
Yes.
I mean, even with these crazy like videos on like how they made the iPhone. The one for the AirPods was kind of weird. Like if I just saw that ad isolated from everything, it could have been any AirPods Pro commercial from the last decade.
Well, what's funny is the functions that come with the new ones could also be any AirPods. So the big new thing they showed for AirPods was live translation.
Yeah, but didn't I already have live translation on Kurdish? Yeah,
they have it on the phone, but not on the AirPods by themselves. And they're rolling it out with the new AirPod Pro 3s. But it also will work with the AirPod 4s and the AirPod Pro 2s, meaning the big banner feature of the new AirPods isn't exclusive to the new AirPods. So yes, not only did it look like it wasn't that different, it physically was not that. I mean, the shape is different, but physically the features aren't that different. Okay, presentation though. I did want to touch on that. So Apple does a really, they have a world-class, team that does these videos, right? And they usually do really cool transitions. And, they've done stuff where, they're warping you around Apple's campus, or they're doing, these world travels to all these, nice things. Like, they went to the Shell in San Diego, speaking of San Diego one time. And this time they did, and I'm kind of surprised they never leveraged this before, but the scene changes were all, now the person's in front of this really nice Apple store in Chicago. And now the person's in front of this really nice Apple store in Miami. And, onward and onward. And one very subtle, not so subtle flex.
Wait, so these weren't all in San Francisco?
No, they were not. No, not every Apple store is in San Francisco. Not every unique Apple store. No, but
I think I saw one a bridge twice, and just assumed they were both the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm guessing one of them was the Brooklyn Bridge.
If you were watching the end, it was the Brooklyn Bridge because they were in New York at that point. Yeah, but
I just thought they were in San Diego the whole time.
But yeah,
they going back from the Apple campus to random stores in San Diego.
They did that once. They did do San Francisco exclusively for one presentation. I know you said San Diego, but I think you meant San Francisco. They did San Francisco exclusively for one presentation. This is why you told me to tell you what you're supposed to think. But the thing I was gonna say is they have these really cool transitions. They did this sort of not so subtle flex of really nice architecture. Apple stores are really cool architecture, and they're all very, not all, but a lot of them are very unique, and that was cool. And then at the end of the segment, they usually zip it back with some other transition back to Tim Cook. Some sort of we're warping back out from San Diego, and now we're doing a quick flyover back to wherever or whatever. They faded to black. I was like, what? like they did like an iMovie transition effect back to Tim Cook. I was like, really, guys? Like you have all the state-of-the-art stuff. You do such good presentations, and you do an iMovie transition. So yeah, that's what I would say about the presentation.
I think that was meant to represent your roots and
of course,
the beauty of simplicity, and that you don't need crazy transitions all the time.
Well, if you want to talk about beauty of simplicity,
I guess that went over you. But
I guess so. If you want to talk about the beauty of simplicity, this was not the presentation for you, because the thing I thought was really interesting about this, I mean, for those who don't, I mean, you guys know, but for those listening that maybe don't know, I'm a super hardcore Apple nerd. So like I think about these things through a similar lens to how I like to think about Nintendo and their actions and why they do things and that sort of thing. And what I thought was kind of interesting with this one is last year, everything was Apple Intelligence and whatnot. And it was like, oh, the phones are plateauing, so we're going to focus on the software. The software is what matters. And granted, Apple Intelligence under-delivered, and they didn't ship half the stuff, so they can't really prop that up. But they only said AI once during the entire hour plus of this presentation. The other thing they didn't even say anytime.
They said Apple Intelligence a few times, but it was more like as a way to leverage other things, not like...
Yeah, that's true. And they fell
Apple
back
Intelligence
on
alone.
saying machine learning and algorithmic and like other terms that were like for a long time, Apple wouldn't say AI. They would use like other words like machine learning. And I noticed they kind of fell back on that a little. This one, probably because Apple Intelligence
I did hear
was
machine
so
learning with the
received.
AirPod Pro of all things. They're like machine learning, like lots of machine learning to know your heartbeat, and stuff, which seems kind of cool.
Yeah, the hypertension warnings on the Apple Watch is like that's going to save people's lives probably. That's super cool.
Yeah.
But what I was saying is, so like they didn't emphasize the software really at all. They didn't even once say the term liquid glass in the entire like June. There's such a big focus. This is our new design language. This is what's important. Like blah 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 blah. They never once said liquid glass through the entire presentation. They did show it. And in the beginning, they had like an opening video that was all about design, and they were matching hardware design, software design, and store design, and architecture and all that. And it was in there, but they never said the term at any point. Instead, the selling point, why I said if you're looking for simplicity, this isn't it. The selling point was the iPhone isn't a singular device anymore. Essentially, it used to be. At least this is how I'm viewing it. It used to be you had your standard iPhone, or you could kind of go down a linear path of better iPhones, right? Like there is an iPhone, and then there's maybe a smaller version of it, or a bigger version of it, or a more powerful version of it, but they're all just an iPhone. It all serves the same purpose, all in one device. If you want it to do better video, you get the better one. If you want to do not as good video because you don't care about video, you get the cheaper one that doesn't do video as well. But they're all like one slice of like, like it's one single tower of iPhones. Is the 16 year, is the 17 year, and it's just one. That isn't really true anymore, which is interesting. It seems like in light of perhaps software plateauing or liquid glass not being, whatever, they're kind of forking the lineup. Now it's almost more like iPads or MacBooks or things where it's like, here's a whole product category of iPhones, and you get the iPhone that does what maybe you want it to do, and we're going to lean in on all those different things that make the iPhones unique. So if you want like the gadget lust, like sleek, sexy, new, cool tech thing that's super crazy, shiny and thin and whatever, you get the new iPhone Air. And this thing is going to be the thinnest it can be, minus the camera bump. It's going to have like, really nice screen. Don't worry about the battery. We'll make a battery pack. You're not here for the battery. You're here because it looks cool. You don't care if you have all the cameras. You're here because it looks cool. Or if you want to use the iPhone as a tool, like if you're a cinematographer or a content creator or something, well, then here's the iPhone 17 Pro, which now looks like a Black & Decker drill. Like it's now utilitarian. It's not, is that the word? Not utilitarian. It's now a utility. It's now a tool. It's now like, it looks like a construction device, like that orange color, that industrial design, that kind of, they're like leaning into, it's a matte finish. They did a sizzle reel where they had it literally busting, like they put it on a gimbal or a crane or a robot arm or something, and they ran the thing through glass, and they ran the thing through keys, and they ran the thing through pennies, and they like threw mud at it, and like they did all this stuff where it's like, oh, if you want like your iPhone as a tool, and you want cameras because they're a tool for content creation, you get the Pro. If you want the pretty iPhone because you want like a status symbol-y thing, you get the Air. If you just want a phone, well, there's the regular iPhone for you as well. But yeah, it was interesting to me that it wasn't like one linear path of like, here's an iPhone, here's a slightly better iPhone, here's a slightly better iPhone, but they're all sort of the same thesis statement of the purpose of the phone. Now it's really like choose your own adventure, like pick a fork in the road, like which phone do you want type of thing, like what purpose does it serve? And to me, that felt kind of like them perhaps realizing, well, if we plateaued in terms of like what a phone can do and what you need a phone for daily use, we got to sell it on other things. We can't just sell it on the upgrade. You got to sell it on, is it sexy or is it like a tool? Is it, that sort of thing? And they're really leaning into that. And I think the Apple Watch Ultra of all things, if you look at like how they made the Apple Watches and they were all sleek and whatnot, and then they're like, oh, but here's a real rugged one. Like, we're going to lean in on the aesthetic of rugged. We're going to make it rugged. You're going to like, it's going to be bulky and big and boxy and have like orange on it, just like the new Pro, all that. They were met with great success to that. And I think even though usually the iPhone is like the halo device for Apple and everything trickles down from the iPhone to other Apple devices, it kind of felt like this, like, I don't know, it's trickled up, but it felt like they took a learning from the success of the Apple Watch Ultra and like, oh, people are into like this utility tool sort of aesthetic. Like they know they're getting it for a purpose. What if we make the Pro more like that in light of also having an Air that's more the gadgetless angle? So I thought that was interesting. It wasn't just a single iPhone with different tiers. It was like completely separated paths. So much so that the iPhone Air is not called the iPhone 17 Air. It's literally just called the iPhone Air.
Just a new product line, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
Essentially. So yeah, that was my big takeaway, was like they're trying to differentiate the hardware to make up for the fact that it's spec and technology-wise, phones are plateauing. There's no doubt. So it's kind of like how, you have a bunch of different MacBooks now or an iMac, and they're all running the same thing, but ultimately, maybe you get it in this form or that form for this purpose or that purpose. And that's what it feels like is happening here.
I do like that the orange one is the flagship one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And again, I think it really leans into, it looks like,
not every day.
It looks like a construction
it does look like Halloween tool. When you look at when you go to the website, it just looks like Halloween. It's just like orange, black, and white, I guess.
Yeah. Orange, no black. There's no black Pro. That's another thing that people have a bone to pick with. The black is only in the Air. If you want to get a Pro, you can only get dark blue, orange, or like a silver. And because they have that two-tone thing, so
the thing is so dark.
It's not that dark in the right lighting. It's about the same as my iPhone 15 Pro's blue, which you've seen, Angel. So it's kind of like, depends on the lighting. It could be dark, can be light.
I mean,
but
look at this image that the listeners can't see that I just posted on the Discord.
It definitely in certain lighting will look.
If I had a gun to your head, what colors would you? But what colors would you say are available just based on that image?
Well, the one image you posted is of orange, so I would say orange.
No, on the bottom, under it are the available colors.
Oh, well, you got... Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Looks like black and gray. No, black and white, I'm sorry.
It looks like black and white. He's also having us look at a circle that's approximately 10 pixels in diameter to make this
Well,
assessment.
yeah, but I mean, if I'm just like casually looking at the site and I'm like, oh, cool, those are new colors,
yeah.
Orange, black, and white.
Yeah.
Then when I click on it, it still kind of looks black. And the white just looks gray. But yeah, interesting.
But
anyway.
Yeah, so that was kind of the big thing with it. And the Pro, actually, you mentioned the website. Another little differentiating thing they're doing, the logo for the Pro, like all the marketing materials, Pro is in big, blocky box layers. It looks like a tool company, like a not Black & Decker, they actually have a sleeker logo, but it looks like something you'd see printed at like an Ace Hardware store on a package. And then the Air is like this super wispy and light font, and it's like very sleek and so it's interesting how even in the font choices,
we mean
really,
business.
Yeah, they're really forking it here. And also, like, there is some cool stuff, like the vapor thing you were talking about. So the Pro iPhone 15 and more so 16 get warm. They use titanium. Titanium kind of traps the heat a bit more, apparently. And so this vapor chamber cooling system is to counterbalance the complaints about the warmth and the fact that it just does get warm. And they also switched to an aluminum body to help with that. While the titanium, which was like previously the like cool, sexy new Pro thing, is now on the Air. So again, the Pro, they switched to something that will keep it cool and has a whole system to keep it cool so it can run at the most intense power possible. Meanwhile, the Air is the one that gets like the thing that was the Pro's big selling point 2 years ago, which is look at the titanium. So even there, they're splitting it. But the vapor chamber thing is interesting because first of all, they made a unibody for the Pro. So it's the first time Apple's done this, but it's just like how they make their MacBooks, where it's kind of like a shell, and then they like stick everything into the shell. Like, you know, if you look at your MacBook, it's like the keyboard comes up from the same piece of metal that everything else is under. And it's like kind of carved out the keys, and then they pop them through. That's what they're doing with like the cameras now. And the reason it's two-tone is because they're doing that aluminum unibody, which again helps with heat and helps with durability, presumably, although I think it's weaker than titanium. But by doing that, they need to have now glass in one spot for the MagSafe and wireless charging to work. So they have this like ceramic coated panel thing that they pop into the middle, almost like a trackpad on a MacBook, and that's why it has that kind of two-tone look, because part of it's one material and the rest of it's the aluminum. So again, it's kind of like what they do with Macs, where, you know, they all serve different purposes and kind of different sizes and shapes, but like the ones that are like the Pro, or the ones that are designed to like get work done, have this kind of unibody with things popping through, just like the Pro iPhone now does. So another little parallel.
It's like the 3DS all over again.
The 3DS. Oh, like 2DS versus 3DS versus 3DS XL versus 2DS XL versus...
No, the original 3DS that was like had the three different cases.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, although this one isn't quite as layered. I think it's only 2 layers. Well, I guess it kind of is.
It's literally 2, arguably 3.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's technically not, because it's all unibody. So the only parts that aren't are the ceramic piece in the middle, and then like the camera lenses. But that hump, or what they call the camera bump, which they're now calling the plateau... Sure.
Of course.
That's one piece that connects down into the rest of the aluminum. It's all one piece.
Oh, like the anime.
Yes, exactly. Exactly like the anime. They stuck an episode. There's enough episodes to go around. They stuck one on every iPhone. Yeah. But yeah, so that's my hot take on the iPhone situation. Rachel's due for an upgrade, so she's getting one, and she wants to get the Pro, and I'm extremely jealous because I'm not gonna get an upgrade this year, and she's gonna have a better phone than me, and that's crazy because I'm the Apple nerd. But I did, like an hour ago, order the new Apple Watch, so I have that coming.
Well, we still have some new tech to play with.
Yep. Real quick, actually, the Apple Watch doesn't have very much exciting.
I skipped that part.
Yeah,
I was going to say, that's the only segment I completely skipped over.
So I'm coming from...
Is there anything?
No.
Is there a round one now?
No, it's bare minimum. It's an off year. They're going for, if you have a 10, the 11 is the same body. It's maybe slightly smaller, or slightly thinner, but it's the same basic shape and everything, same specs in terms of the hardware functionality. But it does come with a few little flourishes. It can detect hypertension, as I mentioned before. It has a 5G modem, so it actually supports 5G for the first time, opposed to 4G. And it is the first time since the Apple Watch Series 3, 4, that they have upped the battery life expectation. Instead of it being 18 hours, it's now 24 hours. And I'm coming from an Apple Watch Series 7. So that's why this is a big update to me, because there's a bunch of stuff from Series 7 to Series 11. Everything from the screen size to the weight of it to the material that's used. Like now they use titanium instead of stainless steel. I like to get the shiny one, so I get the titanium now. It's a big jump for me, but if you're coming from like a 10 or a 9, except the battery life thing, and if you really need 5G speeds on your watch, it's literally the same for all intents and purposes. And some of the new features, like being able to flick away a notification, it's a new thing in WatchOS 26. You can like flick your wrist away or down or something, and it'll make a notification go away. They're backfilling that, so to speak. The Series 9 and 10 will support it too. So kind of like the AirPods, unless you are doing a big jump, you probably don't need to upgrade it. But for me, it's a 4-year jump, and my poor Series 7's battery is only 72% of its original capacity. It does not last the whole day. So it felt like the right time for me, but yeah.
Well, exciting times for some people. I mean, obviously everyone can make the choices. This is the year to jump on. I kind of wish the last gen had an orange one, but
I told you to wait a month. I gave you a heads up that you should wait, but you needed a phone, so you had to cave. How do you like your 16? Like, do you use... So another thing they didn't say once, camera control. Big feature last year. Them trying to do a hardware thing to stand out. We're not plateauing as a phone. Like, camera controls here. I don't know. You might be the one person I know that actually uses it. Do you like it?
I really like it. I use it all the time. I'm basically like an infomercial for it because before I even knew it was a thing, or I had just forgotten it was a thing. Like honestly, when I got the phone to replace it, it was just like, well, it's gonna cost the same. Like it didn't matter like which one I really got, so I just got the whatever was the latest available. And after I set it up, I was like, oh, that's cool. This button's here. But before that, I was literally like, because I use the quick menus to open the camera often. And there have been many times where I'm like, oh man, if only there was a single button that I could use just to open the camera. And sure enough, there it is. And
So you use it to open the camera? Do you use the little scrolly?
And to take picture.
No, but I mean, do you do the all the little gestures you can do on top of it? That's the part I've heard people don't really use.
Well, sometimes, if I need to, because for the most part, I will occasionally try to frame something perfect, but most of the time I'm just taking pictures for reference or just to remember something. So I just need something quick. So yeah, I mean, I'll still be using it maybe the way Apple intended, as your one-stop shop for
everything,
fine-tuning your pictures, but it is a great shortcut button for me. And
so you use the bare minimum. Yeah, because I can see that. I mean, I have the button of software as one of my quick buttons on the lock screen, but I could totally see the advantage of having a hardware button because I do that with the action button for Swarm check-ins. I have it mapped to take me to the check-in screen. It's very convenient. So I definitely understand the convenience of opening the camera that way and snapping a picture that way. But yeah, I'd be curious what the usage stats are for people who actually sit there and zoom their photo using camera control.
Yeah, maybe I'll try that sometime.
Or mess with the exposure or whatever. It's quite elaborate. You can go real deep in the menus, but it takes so much more time because you have such a small surface to run your finger back and forth on. They have to keep going over and over versus one big finger swipe on the screen.
Yeah, but time will tell. The phone is still relatively new to me.
Right.
I've only basically had the button for 3 weeks, maybe.
Man, you should have waited for Orange.
Huh?
Could have had
honestly, it's perfectly fine. As much as I love Orange, I definitely prefer it when Orange is an accent rather than the full thing.
full thing, yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah,
one other thing from the presentation that's across all the new iPhones, and it's kind of cool, and I feel like it should Apple and Google do this thing where they just bat back and forth each other's ideas these days. One does one thing, then the other copies it, then the other does something, then the other copies it. But there's one thing that Apple did that's kind of cool. Center stage. So this is across all new iPhones, and like I was saying, and center stage. So if you're on a Mac, this is a feature with the webcam that will track you as you move around. If you have a Zoom meeting or something, the camera will stay locked to you. That is true with the iPhone front-facing camera now. It will stay locked to you. But also, and I didn't even know this is how this works until they said it, but sure. The sensor, the camera sensor itself, is now a square instead of a rectangle. And what that means is if you want to take a selfie with people, you no longer have to turn the phone into landscape or portrait depending on how many people you need to fit in your selfie. The sensor is even on all sides, and the phone will determine if the photo needs to be landscape or not. So you hold it vertically and take your selfie, and as more people come in behind you and it detects the faces and it readjusts the centering of the photo using center stage, it will then on its own do an actual landscape photo while you hold the phone vertically. It's not a crop. It's not it's cutting off part of you. It's literally the landscape view as if you turn the phone sideways, but you're still holding it upright. That's pretty cool. Just conceptually, that's able to do that. So someone at Apple, that was a good idea. I don't take a lot of selfies, but just conceptually, that's a really neat feature.
Yeah.
We'll see how they have to evolve it.
Yep.
Wait, it's funny because I definitely remember you as, once upon a time, you were the droid person. How many droids did you have? Was it just the two?
But I was initially the BlackBerry Storm person. So I was in the relentless pursuit of getting the closest thing to an iPhone before the iPhone came to Verizon, because I've been on Verizon with my family since middle school. So I had a BlackBerry.
Oh, so that was literally the only thing keeping you from getting it?
Yeah, quite literally. Because I got my first iPod in 7th grade. So this was like 2002. I got the very first iPod that works with a PC. Like, I never had Macs as a kid, but neither did my dad. He was a PC guy. But right before a field trip at school, I was like, for my birthday, I got an iPod, and it was the first. It was before the click wheel was like. It's when the click wheel had buttons around it. So the wheel didn't click. There was like a touch-sensitive centerpiece and then 4 buttons on the sides, like around it. And it's the very first one that worked with Windows. And I got it, I think, like a week before or after they announced the next-gen one. So this is like 2002, 2003. But yeah, ever since then, I was like, oh, I want Apple stuff. So yeah, I couldn't get an iPhone on Verizon, so I got BlackBerry Storm. Then I got a Droid X. Then eventually the iPhone came to Verizon. And I think my first one was the 4S, maybe. So
I'm not crazy how when you trace back just like the evolution, because I mean it was basically iTouch came first and then the iPhone.
No,
Stop.
First of all, it's
I hate. Thank you, Jason. Thank
iPod
you.
Touch.
Oh my god, I hate it when people call it an iTouch. Oh my god.
iPod Touch. I almost flubbed and said iWatch earlier. Well, I started to say iPhone, and I corrected to Apple Watch, but it sounded like it said iWatch, which is another one I don't like you with iTouch. Not an iWatch, Apple Watch. But yes, the iPod Touch came out
Apple Touch. I never cared to.
No, iPod Touch,
you got it
not
wrong
Apple
the
Touch.
second time.
Oh my god, we just corrected you. No, but
I literally said Apple Touch.
iPod Touch.
Oh,
This was
well,
2007.
I guess whatever. I never cared to check whether it was right or wrong.
So I did have the first gen iPod Touch because I couldn't get an iPhone. Yeah, so I did the next best thing, and I got the iPod Touch, and I loved that thing. But it came out in tandem. So the iPhone came out in June of 2007, and then in September of 2007, right around the time we all, you and I, Angel, started UCSB, the iPod Touch came out. And it was literally the whole pitch was like, well, if you can't get an iPhone because it's only on Verizon and you don't want a phone, but you want like the cool music app and all the app store and all that jazz, here's the little baby tablet for you. So the iPhone actually did come first, barely. But yeah, they were kind of in parallel as a way to keep the ecosystem as big as possible for app developers and that sort of thing.
Why get an iTouch when you can get a Zoom?
Well, no one's getting an iTouch because it's not called that. It's an iPod Touch. You can't get an iTouch because it does not exist. It's iPod Touch and not Apple Touch.
Well, enough about the iTouch. Let's see. So who's on? Wait. Oh, this. I completely misread that. I thought 3 Days Grace, Alien Nation. When I read that, I just read Alien Nation and thought that was that new TV show. I think Planet Alien Planet.
Literally have no idea what you're talking about.
No clue.
There is a Xenomorph TV show on Hulu.
Alien Earth. Alien Earth.
Alien Earth. There you go.
Okay, I do know what
so
you're
maybe
talking about.
a little bigger than a nation, but
a place full of many nations. Yeah. So, Kevin, would you like to take the lead on this one?
Not really.
Okay. I don't have a lot of thoughts. So, backstory. So, there's this band 3 Days Grace, right? Lots of high school history here. So, talked about the iPod Touch in 2007. Go for a few years further back. In high school, Jason was into his Linkin Park and his Foo Fighters and whatnot. And there's this band 3 Days Grace with a lead singer named Adam something or other. I don't remember his last name.
It's French-Canadian.
Yeah.
He's Frontier? He's not, but his last name is like French-Canadian.
That's... His roots is why I didn't remember his last name because I wasn't sure if there was like an accent to put on it or not. But anyway, I liked them a lot. They had an album called 1X. It was really good. And they had a couple other albums after that were also pretty good. They had one before that, actually, that was also pretty good. But 1X was the one that like really struck a chord with me. And I was into them, and they kept coming out with music up through when we were in college. I think the last one with Adam, was 2009, Transit of Venus or something like that. And then he just like left the band. And the band's like, well, we'll just get a new singer who sounds different. And it just didn't hit with me in the same way. And I kind of lost interest and focus. You know, I wasn't really paying attention to 3 Days Grace. Like, I occasionally like see what they're up to, or I try and see what Adam's up to. And he was like, he had some other band, and it wasn't quite the same, and it just didn't quite click in the same way. And then, like, out of nowhere, like a year ago, he came back to the band, but they kept the other new singer, a guy named Matt. So there's Adam and Matt, 2 singers. And they put out a song, and then they, like, did a whole album, and it just came out a couple weeks ago, Alienation, and I was very pleasantly surprised that it exists. And it's probably the closest for me to what 1X kind of sounded like. Like, I feel like the album that came after, Transit Venus, was, like, not as strong, and they did, I don't know what was different about it. It just wasn't as strong. I still liked it, but it wasn't as strong. But this one feels like I don't know if they're just trying to do a little replication of what 1X was in that sound or what, but it took me back, and it was nostalgic, and it was nice. And the new singer, when he's complimenting the old singer, when Matt and Adam are on songs together, I actually like the new singer a lot more than when he was just the guy that was 3 Days Grace. So I was very pleasantly surprised by it. But the reason it's coming up on the podcast is I tweeted about it, and then our listener Kurt tweeted me about it, and then Kevin, you chimed in about it, and then we basically on the spot were like, well, we got to talk about it. So here we are talking about it. So what did you think? And you said you were going to listen to it, and I had no idea you ever listened to 3 Days Grace, but what did you make of it?
More than anything, this album has opened my eyes to the fact that this type of sound just isn't for me anymore. Like, similar to you, well, we were kids when I Hate Everything About You came out. That's Angel. I would guess that's the song that you know the most from them.
Really, you think that's their biggest, opposed to like?
Yes. I think it's the one that Angel would know the most.
Oh,
I think that's probably the
3 Days Grace.
Maybe. I feel like
I Hate Everything About
like
You.
Never Too Late is from 1X. Might be that's the one that had the most radio play. I feel like.
Well, I mean, maybe it doesn't ring a bell based on the title. But
I mean, the one that got me into them was Pain from 1X, and then I discovered Am I Become, and then I discovered the whole album. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it was I Hate Everything About You from their self-titled. Yeah. For him, I mean.
Yeah, like that song and Home, and there's a couple of other songs off their first album. Mainly their singles. What was it? It was Just Like You. Yeah,
I couldn't tell you the singles from the first album. Yeah, because
I was like, I Hate Everything About You. Just and then 1X similarly. 1X is an album that I listened to, and I really like that album. Of course, Santa Little I Have Become, Pain, Riot. There's a couple of other songs.
Yeah, Riot's good. Yeah.
But yeah, more than any, and so that is where my history with 3 Days Grace pretty much ends, because I never really listened to anything after that. I listened to the first single off when Adam left, which I think it was called Painkiller, and I really wasn't vibing with that song.
Same.
And I just dropped off, and then of course because of the conversation that we're having online, I decided to give this album a listen, and yeah, it's just not my music. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not something that I would listen to anymore. I will still listen to Animal I Have Become and a couple of those other songs, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't listen to. This is my first and only listen for this album, quite honestly.
That's fair. And I should clarify, there were 2 albums after 1X. I just pulled up their discography. There was Life Starts Now in 2009, then Transit Venus in 2012. And yeah, I think Life Starts Now didn't hit the same highs as 1X for me, and then Transit Venus even less so, and then he left the band. Like, I have both on my phone. Like, they're in my library. It's fine. Like, I like them. But, like, there was a noticeable slope downward, and then he left, and that's when I completely fell off. But yeah, I do think for me part of it is the nostalgia of it sounding like a continuation of 1X. It's funny because this is not a fair comparison because they didn't evolve in the same way or change in the same way. But the way, Kevin, that you sometimes talk about what you listen to with Linkin Park, and it's like, oh, the first 2 albums, especially the second album, and then it kind of slowly dissipates, and then you just like completely drop off. And then when you listen to From Zero, and you're like, oh, it sounds like they're just trying to like sort of go back to what they did earlier on, but like not quite at the same way. Like I seem to remember you saying that's kind of what this feels like with the Alienation, going back to the sound of 1X, but I am liking it. Yeah. But like through the lens of how you view Linkin Park, I'm sort of where I'm at with 3 Days Grace a little, which is kind of funny to be on the other side of that now.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Not a bad album per se. There are some lyrics in there that I thought were like, are kind of corny.
Oh yeah. The lyricism is not what it was, but I never really listened for lyrics anyway. So the sound of it was hitting the right spot for me at least.
Sure. And not only that, man, there's a lot more power ballads than I would expect from a 3 Days Grace album. But
I didn't really notice that, but yeah, now you mention it.
Well, I mean, one would be way more than I would expect, and I think there's like 2 or 3 in there. Yeah, not a bad album per se, but just not something that I would listen to nowadays, and not something that I will like listen to moving forward. So it does give me some of those. It does give me that feel from Zero, a little bit, where this sound just isn't for me anymore, and that's all right. That's fine. I know there's somebody out there that will appreciate it.
And I will say it is interesting. I remember like not that long ago there's the common like thought that like, oh, rock is dead, but like, and I'm not saying this is like 3 Days Grace is saving rock, but between like 3 Days Grace having new music and Breaking Bad having new music, and like there's just a lot more guitars in music lately, and bands that kind of sort of fell to the wayside or were quiet for a while seem to be back in full force. I mean, even Linkin Park, honestly, like obviously Chester was part of it, but they're selling out the biggest shows they've ever done with any singer in Europe. They're like huge at the moment. Like it's interesting how cyclical everything is, and it seems like guitar driven stuff. Even if you all look at pop, Olivia Rodrigo's albums and stuff, like guitars are back in the mainstream in a way, or coming back towards the mainstream in a way that they weren't 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago. So that's kind of nice to see. Another example that I'm going to get crucified for. Machine Gun Kelly's doing rock stuff now. I mean, I know it's like his weird Machine Gun Kelly punk stuff, but which I don't mind. But like, again, guitar driven, like at a time when there wasn't a lot of guitars. So
you said you don't mind?
I don't mind Machine Gun Kelly's pop punk stuff.
Jesus Christ.
I won't go see him live, but I don't mind it.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
I listen to way more like just generic mainstream than you, I'm realizing. Or not even mainstream, but just like, that sort of stuff.
Well, whatever makes you happy, I guess.
Sounds like there's plenty for people to listen to on their iPhones and iTouches and MacBook, whatever's. But I guess you can also watch things on here too.
These transitions are solid tonight. You got to watch things on the iTouch, okay?
You can. I used to watch. I used to download game trailer videos onto my Zune.
I miss game trailers
and watch them there.
So I'm gonna point out.
Yeah,
we were talking about
great retrospective.
They did.
Those are fun. Yeah.
I do like how you said you could watch things on your iTouch. I downloaded things to my Zune as if you're right. You could watch stuff on iPod Touch, but just because you downloaded it on a Zune doesn't. Also, you owned a Zune. We've never talked about this on this podcast. You owned a Zune.
Yeah, it was cool.
It actually was kind of cool. It was a cool
green.
Yeah, it was like an olive green
for like almost $100 less, because I think the comparable. What was I looking at? It was like just an iPod. I think those were like $250, and the Zune was like $150. And I remember the Zune also had like almost 100 more gigs of internal memory. That was kind of like my big deciding factor. Or maybe it was like for the same price, I get like 100 more gigs of data and a bigger screen. And that was kind of enough. Like, I didn't have any Apple ecosystem items yet. No MacBooks, no iMacs, no Macs or anything. So there wasn't really a big incentive for me to explore or dive into that just yet. And it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I really loved the first version of the Zune music software when it was very customizable, and then little by little they just started to remove features
because they made it more like iTunes.
Not too dissimilar to iTunes, that eventually also kept removing and hiding features, which, some of them make sense. Like, I mean, not every computer has disk drives anymore, so the burn option went from being a prominent little warning hazard thing in the top right corner to being something in the drop down to just being gone. I think the visualizers are the ones that I feel should have stayed, because they were just fun.
Some of them are still there.
Are they
I
still
can
there?
open the Apple Music app right now, and there's visualizers on my desktop. I mean, on my laptop, not on my phone.
I need to double check, but there were a couple really fun ones that I don't think are there anymore.
I think they just have one
like
right now, which is just like bursting light, essentially.
Yeah, they used to have like one that was basically a dragon, like a dragon's body that would like kind of tremble to the music, and just
that's long gone.
Just a bunch of
yeah,
wacky ones. Like there were just more out there.
Well, it was of the era of Winamp, where like it wasn't even just visualizers that you could go crazy with skinning of. Like
the player itself. Yeah, I remember some crazy ones. I'm downloading some, I guess like officially licensed third-party ones that were just also pretty neat.
It's funny because we've talked. I know when like the last iOS came out that we were talking about how like some of the customization options for the icons or whatnot are kind of like you can make some really gaudy like or ugly looking home screens and lock screens and custom icon sets and whatever. Everything's cyclical. I was saying about music, but it's true here. I mean, do you remember what like some of those Winamp skins look like? Do you remember what some people's MySpace pages look like? Like this like idea of empowering people to design things and then they just don't know what to do with it and they make the ugliest things. Like that gave way at one point to the clean aesthetic of Apple. Yeah, but it was theirs, and now everyone wants that back, and we're going back in that direction, that aesthetic. So it's interesting. Everything is a circle.
Yeah, it's funny. Like little by little, a couple people that I know at work that in the past would never put stickers on any of their devices. It's like little by little, we're just seeing more and more of them just like, get turned around on that. And now they're just slowly adding more stickers to everything, be it their phone or their more expensive gadgets.
That one always struck me.
I used to be one of them. Now I just full on embraced it. But
that one struck me as interesting because like there's a period where like putting a sticker on the lid of your MacBook was like a thing. Like Apple did a whole commercial, I don't know if you remember, where it was just a sizzle reel of stickers on the backs of MacBooks. And like that one, like that felt like a weird in between where it's like, oh well, we're still gonna let the software maker curate the experience of what it's like to use it. We're not gonna customize our icons, we're not gonna customize our Winamp, but we'll put a sticker on it. And Apple's like, yeah, you do that, and we'll look, everyone, it's custom because they put a sticker on it, and now we're well past that. It feels like in terms of customization.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe on PCs or PC laptops, I feel like that was I feel like it was more common to see stickers on there. I know for a while it was definitely like, oh man, you got to keep the back of the Apple,
the glowy Apple
clear. And
well, yeah, a lot of stickers would work around that, which led to some cool designs of like Snow White holding the apple, or like Pac-Man eating the apple, or it was like a whole thing. I miss that,
but they all revolved around the apple, like
because it was cool. It glowed.
But now, I'll definitely give it that. But now, like, I mean, on all my devices, I usually just like to find something that will be nice and center and cover the apple. Not because I'm trying to hide the apple. It's just because I just like the sticker a lot and I want it to be the center of attention.
There's probably some hot take you can make, or like some paper, some like, graduate, what's it called where you write the paper to graduate from grad school?
Dissertation?
Yeah, there's probably a dissertation you could put together about like the symbolism of how people are now hiding the Apple logo and trying to move away from Apple's curated experience and what it means about Apple as the like Goliath, like the dominant computing company versus when they were kind of on the up and up and the cool underdog and people wanting to let Apple control the experience and highlight the Apple logo on the experience. You know what I mean? Like there's something there about like there's some anthropological societal thing you can dig into about like the role of Apple in society and how it flipped and how that's reflected in how people use their devices and want to use their devices.
Would you be down
to write that paper? No,
for the next episode. Just a one.
No, I'm not. I just said it. It's a free idea that might have no weight to it, but it's a free idea if someone wants to explore it and graduate from grad school with it.
Fair enough. Yeah, guess with that, we'll just jump straight onto shows. No real segue outside of that. I guess you can watch these on those devices like I poorly transitioned to earlier. I don't know if either of you have been watching it. I know I told you about it, Jason. Long story short, it's a new show by the creator of BoJack. Got very little marketing, if anything. I only heard about it because someone that I watch on YouTube mentioned it. Otherwise, I don't even think I would still know that it exists because no one else has talked about it. And even when I was on Netflix to look up other things, I didn't really see it anywhere. I had to like just look for it. I did eventually find it under new, but it was like 3 tabs deep, and I think by then the show was maybe 2 weeks old, which I don't know what that says about Netflix or the show or anything, but yeah, I mean, yeah, so I'm guessing neither of you started watching it or
You mentioned it, and then I proceeded to immediately watch Pokemon Concierge, which is also on Netflix and is at the light. So no, I did not. I have not seen it yet, but I do want to as a BoJack fan.
Yeah, and I'd recommend it. It's 10 episodes, 23-minute long episodes each. 23 minutes each episode. And yeah, it's kind of a comedy like BoJack, but it likes to tackle a lot of different themes. And I mean, I guess unlike not too dissimilar from BoJack and the mental hurdles that come with stress, anxiety, and I guess that you can encounter in celebrity life, and not just the downsides of fame as painted in that show. This one is more about, I guess, the different kinds of family dynamics and the generational trauma that could come with it, with the same kind of comedic, I would say, tone as BoJack. It's not quite 1-to-1. Like, I definitely miss all the puns and wordplay. There's
I was going to ask, are there no puns and wordplay?
Not as much. Like, it felt like BoJack made it a point to have almost as much as possible, or maybe it was more of a Princess Carolyn thing. But there's some here and there, but it's definitely not as much.
I mean, BoJack double stacked it because they had the audio pun. They said the puns, and they also had puns written out and visual gags, and like it was like the whole show was just wordplay ultimately.
Yeah, this one, because there aren't any anthropomorphic animals. There aren't as many visual gags either. The art style is definitely what's very different because it does not. I mean, you wouldn't know it's from the same creator as BoJack. It looks like very simplistic, not, I don't know, like thick outlined, very simplistic caricatures, almost like something you would find like in a children's book. Yeah, pretty much like that. Not like it looks like a kid's show, just like the level of detail is like that of a kid's book. Like the characters are super simplistic and the backgrounds barely have any detail on them. Think almost like Dexter levels amount of detail. Not the same art style for sure, because that is a very angular show, but the amount of stuff that you would just see on screen.
I'm wondering if there was like a contractual obligation Netflix had to do this show, but they didn't give it a lot of budget or a lot of marketing. Because it sounds like it's very flying under the radar due to monetary reasons from everything you're saying. Like, I guess that could be a style choice, but like, sounds like maybe it was a constraint.
Cool. I mean, the other, like the other, I guess like distinguishing factor, or I guess like other thing that the show does that BoJack doesn't, or I'm sure other shows do too, but it's a very, very nonlinear show. Like the show is constantly jumping, like sometimes within the same episode, but definitely from episode to episode, between years, decades, forward and backwards in time. So you might start the first episode in, you could say they take relatively in the same universe as our universe, like the same kind of like world events happened, like COVID being like a very prominent one. So just kind of giving you that idea. Like if the main characters are in their mid to late 30s in 2025, when it jumps to like the, mid 80s, they're like kids. Then it jumps to like 2022 and they're like in their adult years, and then it jumps to like the 70s, and then it's following like the parents as like teenagers or something. So, it lends to a lot of neat reveals, like, something that may seemingly seem as not a big deal, or like, something that you wouldn't really give as much attention to, and then you jump in time and then suddenly be like, oh, that's why that's there. Things come together in ways that I didn't expect they would, or things that I didn't even realize were gonna be references ended up being, I guess like just nice connections. We'll put it that way. It wasn't depressing, but there were definitely some episodes that were kind of like, oh man, it's kind of rough, or like oh man, this is I wouldn't say like definitely relatable, like super relatable, but you could almost say like, yeah, it's like almost like a caricature of something that I've directly heard from like parents and stuff like that. But if you enjoy BoJack, I'm sure you'll enjoy this one. It's worth checking out. Doesn't it's only 10 episodes, so, and usually I think by the first 2 you'll have a really good idea whether you'll like it or not. But yeah, it's pretty much all I gotta say. Long story short, that was pretty much it.
Every time you say long story short, I think you're summarizing something, because you usually say long story short after you tell something. Like, that's a normal thing for you to say. So I'm always thrown off when you, like, both times I've been thrown off when you said it tonight.
Wow. Well, tell me about the paper.
Kevin?
Amazing transition.
Yeah, I think he gave up after we gave him such a hard time about the iTouch. Yeah.
Pretty sure I gave up when the episode started, based on the pacing. But yeah, tell me about the paper.
Okay, so 2 of us have seen it. Kevin and
2
myself.
of us have seen it.
Kevin, thoughts?
You've seen the trailer?
The trailer does not do it justice.
Really? Didn't seem bad.
The trailer had a lot of people going like, I don't know about this one, but it was a pleasant surprise.
Which we'll talk about in a
yes.
bit. But
yes.
I really, really, really liked it. Probably give it like an 8 out of 10 this first season. Liked the characters, liked the premise, liked pretty much almost every aspect of the show, with the exception of one character who like kind of drags down my enjoyment of the overall show. But and we can absolutely.
I think I can guess.
Yes, like yeah, the conflict, the conflict starter of this series, which might be like on purpose.
I mean,
but
you're talking about Esmeralda Grande, right?
Yes, Esmeralda.
I feel like they softened her halfway through the season, but she comes on.
Yeah, they absolutely
raw.
did.
She's like
the 5th episode or something like that.
She's like a cartoon. Like, when you watch a sitcom and then over the years, like, the characters kind of become caricatures of themselves because the writers keep leaning further and further into, like, their traits. I feel like she came out of a show that was 8 seasons deep. Like, she's not grounded in reality in the way some of the others are. But then they kind of work backwards and she becomes more of a real person by, like, the 4th or 5th episode, I feel like. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh about it.
So she, like, revert Flanderized?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, that's the term I was looking for. Like,
she's almost like Dwight in the later seasons of The Office.
At the start, and then she kind of scales back a little. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the actress is great. She was great on White Lotus as well when she was on it in Italy, season 2.
Couldn't tell you.
She was the hotel manager.
Sure.
I know, still not helpful. Right. But yeah. So you did really like. I think I'm right there with you. I would probably give it about the same rating. And Esmeralda was the one that kind of like stuck out as. But then she grew on me. They gave her some like humanizing qualities in one particular episode. And from there on, it was a lot more balanced, I felt. But yeah, I think what's really nice about. I don't know if you got this vibe, Kevin, but. Yes, it is an Office spinoff, and yes, there is some tie-in to The Office, and I actually think they did a really good job of handling that without being too overbearing of like, hey, remember this. But like the show's sensibility, like there's like an earnestness and like an optimism with the characters that feels a lot more like Parks and Rec than it does, say, the old Office. And as someone
100% agree.
Cool, yeah, because as someone who prefers Parks and Rec over The Office, I was very, very pleasantly surprised about that.
Yeah, I think the fact and I don't know how many people agree with me. I mean, Angel, you've seen The Office, but The Office can sometimes delve into some cruelty for humor, especially, obviously, because of Michael and Dwight. But, like in my recent rewatch of Parks, I was like, man, this show is hilarious without a single semblance of cruelty. And with the exception of Esmeralda in those earlier episodes, This show is very, like you said, it's very optimistic. It's very earnest in its comedy. It's not. It's rarely mean spirited.
Yeah, even though I haven't seen it, but yeah, good mean spiritedness in shows. It's like it's really hard to do right because there are characters in other shows that are just terrible people, like in Always Sunny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I still really enjoy the show because they get their comeuppance. They're not being portrayed as like these great people. Like they're straight up shown for what they are. Like they're always in the wrong. Parks and Rec does give me that, especially compared to The Office. But I know, I don't know if Jason remembers, but like the way they treated, I mean, I'm sure you already know who I'm talking about.
Gary?
Parks and Rec.
Gary,
like
Gary / Jerry
there were many times where I'm all like,
every other RY name.
Yeah, Gergitcher. Yeah, like, yeah, sure. Like he gets like, I guess like some payoff like at the very end. And there were some episodes that kind of like were like, oh look, this is what you get for being mean to him. But
and he's also got the biggest penis that one doctor has ever seen.
Was that
like
the payoff that Angel you were talking about?
No,
I know there's the bigger payoff, but
I think for the most part, like it's still, I don't know, I still just didn't really like it,
and that's the meanest that show ever really got.
Yeah,
compared to some of the antics that Dwight and Michael would get into.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's interesting because, like, The Office, which was arguably, clearly the bigger show of the two, but The Office really leaned on, like, cringe comedy, for lack of a better term. And, like,
there are some people...
Yeah.
To your point that it leans on cringe comedy a lot. There are some people that just refuse to rewatch Scott's Tots because that episode is
like, there's some that are, like, it's so... Yeah, and I feel like that's one of the things the paper maybe learned from, because it's the same creative team. It's Greg Daniels again. It's all that. And I feel like they were kind of like, oh, well, what if we like aren't so cringe? Like cringe comedy, I don't know if it would work in a show set in 2025 in the way it did. It's set in 2005, 2006, It is a different culture. Like people wouldn't put up with it. And like the people in The Office wouldn't put up with it in the same way. The characters, I mean. So it is interesting that, like, now that they're kind of like, it's the Office team making a show set in 2025. I don't even know if they could dip into that cringe thing without the show just feeling weird as a result. So it might be somewhat out of necessity that's now earnest, but it does sidestep that cringe. Minus Esmeralda for the first few episodes. It does sidestep that pretty well.
And with Esmeralda, it's specifically more annoying than it is mean.
Yeah, it's not cringe. I should be fair. It's not cringe. But she does have, like, a bit of that Dwight like sabotage streak.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but one thing that's interesting is none of the character, like we're comparing her to Dwight, but I would say surprisingly there is not a perfect, like one of my fears with the show is there's gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be very like recycled of The Office. Like here's the Dwight equivalent, here's the Jim equivalent, here's the Pam equivalent, and there's like bits and pieces. Like there's a Stanley equivalent named Barry who is kind of similar, kind of different, but it's not so cookie cuttered as it could have been, which was a relief. like it could have easily just gone, we're going to do The Office again, but it's a newspaper, and it's not just that. It does have its own identity. Like it does feel like its own thing, which is nice.
Sorry, Angel, we interrupted you twice.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Angel, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, because, like, as someone that watched The Office once recently, we'll say, like, in the last maybe 6 years. I think that was, like, the first time I just watched it on Netflix. I don't remember a lot of it. Just, maybe a couple of the highlight Michael Scott episodes, but... Like, would you still recommend this as a sitcom to someone that maybe hasn't watched The Office?
Absolutely.
Like,
oh yeah, it stands on its own.
Like it sounds like it doesn't really rely on that.
Some of the jokes involving, and this is not a spoiler, but some of the jokes involving Oscar, because Oscar is in this.
See that in the trailer?
Yeah, exactly. It's in the trailer. There's some of the jokes with Oscar that might not land perfectly for some people. Like some people probably won't get the biggest laughs, like specifically with his character, and it's only for like one or two jokes that the documentary does, not the other characters towards him. That you might miss some of the past there, but aside from that, yeah, this absolutely stands on its own.
It's more like winks and nudges than it is full on callbacks.
And I don't even know if there's like winks and nudges as much, like except for that first episode where I mean,
also
at the very beginning of the first episode, at the very beginning of the very first episode, you go back to the
to Dunder,
to the Dunder Mifflin offices.
But
from
also
the show.
Something. How do I not spoil this? Oscar makes a comment in the finale that has a second layer. If you're a fan of The Office or have seen that episode of The Office,
I'd have to watch it again, but
I will tell you once we're done recording, and you'll be like, "Oh, okay, yeah,
sure."
So
okay.
that's more the wink and nod versus like relying.
But the fact that I also don't like remember it, it's like you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
As somebody who's watched The Office, I've really championed The Office back in like season 4 or season 5. I don't remember, to like all my friends in high school, and they were like, "Oh, The Office is so boring. Like, how could you like that?" And then, sure enough, just that's the show that everybody just like talks about nowadays. It's so annoying.
It is,
especially because Parks and Rec is right there, and it's like,
totally.
It's better.
Yeah, no, it is better. And you know, one other thing, but I was going to say that's exactly why the paper exists, is because the younger generation got really into The Office on Netflix, and Peacock was like, we want that audience. So that's how they commissioned the paper to be a thing. But what was I say? One thing,
will they, won't they early?
Yes.
So there is a will they, won't they. One thing I will say without spoiling anything. Two things I will say without spoiling anything. One, something that Parks does, and even Brooklyn Nine-Nine does, which I also really like. The show isn't confined to just the newsroom or the office. They go places. They go into the town. I already see the early like seeds being planted of recurring like people in the town, like Parks and Rec does. Like they do that, which is nice because it feels like Toledo. It's set in Toledo, is like this actual place there, and not just like this one little office in Scranton and occasionally like a Dave and Buster's. But so that's already nice. The second thing that's nice is, and maybe this is because they dropped all 10 episodes at once versus the once a week they were originally planning to do. This show speed runs sitcom tropes. like it goes straight through the arcs all the way through. So you're not going to be like stuck in too much of something for too long because the show just goes. Like it's a very brisk show, which is in a way nice, but also I kind of wish they dropped 3 episodes and then did like an episode a week just to like stretch this out a little for a lower amount, because I blew through it in like 2 or 3 days and really enjoyed it. And then it's like, oh, I guess I'll see season 2 in like a year. Okay. And that was it. It was just done. Like, I don't know. It went by too fast.
Probably check it out.
Yeah. The thing that I want to talk about, it's the sort of lack of faith that some people are having with this show before even watching it. Like, I thought the trailer was fine, but like, I was like, I don't know what. I think people are just always so caught up. And I think I talked about this during my rant back, 2 or 3 years ago with the Cowboy Bebop live action, where people are just almost like cynical for properties that already exist without. And sure, maybe you didn't like the trailer, sure, but people also acting like that first season of The Office wasn't awful.
Yeah, I mean, Parks had the same problem. It took
Parks, but first season of Parks was really, really bad. And going into this, of course, like
that one was pretty mean-spirited.
Yeah,
yeah, and they got rid of the meanest character, like Mark, which is gone after that season because it wasn't the vibe. Yeah,
you could say he didn't hit the mark.
But the cynicism that I've seen from this, like, they're going to ruin The Office. I'm like, well, one, this isn't The Office, you know? Don't get me wrong. If this was an Office reboot, I'd probably come at this a little bit more differently. But just the overall cynicism that I saw before this show, I was like, all right, come on. Like, what? Like, going into this, I saw people saying, like, oh, man, I had the lowest expectations for this. It's not you, Kurt. Don't worry. It's not you, Kurt.
We're shouting him out left and right.
Yeah,
Kurt, come on an episode sometime. I'm not even joking. Like, that'd be fun. We talk about him so much. You should just join us. but anyway,
that'd be fun.
Yeah.
But seeing like, oh man, I had low expectations of the show. I'm like, well, it's a brand new show. it's a brand new show with the same people that you trusted for 9 seasons of The Office, and here's where here's where you're drawing the line. It was just odd to me.
No, I get what you mean.
People got to come up with you got to go in with an open mind, you know.
Yeah, and I think
the fact
what did it,
and the fact that even that this first season I think works way better than maybe season 1. Definitely better. This season definitely works better than season 1 of both shows. I'd say it even works a little bit better. I think it works better than some of the later season of The Office for sure.
I mean, honestly,
even the Michael Scott years, like that last season. I think this is better than Michael's last season.
The fact that this hit its stride within 5 episodes, or hit a stride, not necessarily the stride, but a stride within 5 episodes, and it took other shows a full 22 to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the show. I think there was some. Yeah, I agree about the cynicism. I think there was some like understandable caution after the trailer came out, simply because it's really hard to cut a trailer for a sitcom.
Sure.
And it did no favor. Like, there's that line that is it Esmeralda who says it, like, the stop being so self-defecating instead of deprecating, and that line got ran to the ground. It was in every promo, every commercial, everything. And and I think a lot of people are like, is that like what they think is the funniest thing because they keep saying it? It's like, well, no, it's just that's one of the quippiest things in a show that isn't actually all that quippy. So it's a very good show, but it doesn't have like one-liners that you could just throw into a trailer. So that one got a lot of use and a lot of mileage. And I think people rated the whole show off that one joke, plus had the cynicism you said. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, when it was first announced, like even before the trailer came out or anything, I was interested in just seeing what it would be. I didn't necessarily have expectations, but I wasn't going in like, oh, this is going to be awful. I was just like, well, this is an interesting idea. What are they going to do with this? And I don't know why people can't just kind of be open-minded, at least like that, you know?
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But overall, really excited. Season 2, when that drops, I'm binging it all. I had a great time with the show.
Also, they did a pretty good job with the casting. Like, there's, like, I mentioned the person from White Lotus is in this. What's his name? The guy that plays
Donald Gleason.
Yeah. Like, he's been in a lot of stuff. I mean, he was in Star Wars. He was in Ex Machina. He's now in a sitcom. They have a comedian named Alex Edelman, who's like an Emmy-winning comedian, and I think he won a Tony for his one-man show on Broadway, and he's in this, like, kind of in a situation where, like, I feel like he can use that to turn into, like, a bigger acting career, kind of like how Aziz did with Parks. Like, there's
Alex Edelman, you see the Christian?
He's the Christian. He's the guy with all the kids.
Yeah, the Christian. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he is Christian, but in real life he's Jewish. What a twist. Yeah, it's he also wrote a bunch of the episodes, actually, it turns out. He was one of the head writers. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it feels like they have like a really good foundation, like a really good cast. I think the person that plays Nicole was in like a bunch of the DC shows, like League of Tomorrow or something. Was in something on CW. Like it's a lot of people who have kind of been around, and now I'm hoping this takes off for them because it's a good crew.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
High praise. Well, I mean, I had honestly forgotten that I watched this recently, but since we were already talking about Greg Daniels, which I guess it seems to be a name you can trust when it comes to sitcoms. At least I haven't seen any show that he's been involved with that I did not enjoy. The one I'm referring to right now, of which is the King of the Hill revival, which, dang, I don't know how long it's been since it ended its 13th season, but it came back with season 14 with like a time skip. Have either of you watched it? Did either of you watch or like King of the Hill?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I wasn't super big on King of the Hill, but I am curious about the revival just because the time jump and the timeliness of all the stuff now.
Yeah, I initially wasn't that into King of the Hill growing up. It wasn't until college that I just decided to watch the show from the very beginning, and I really loved it. And it became a show, not one I watch every year like Always Sunny, but one that I'll like come back to every couple years. And funnily enough, independent of the revival being announced, I started rewatching it from the beginning a while back. I'm actually at the final season right now, But I did watch season 14, like when I came back from Japan, and it was still really great. If you enjoyed the show, it just feels really true to the show. It feels like the show didn't take a break, like they just kept going. Except obviously, with a time skip, like all the characters feel true to themselves. And the storylines just feel like, yeah, like these just feel like King of the Hill episodes. Like despite tackling some more modern issues, they don't necessarily like delve into like, oh, this is the episode about Postmates or stuff like that. Because King of the Hill has always been a show about you know the dad Hank trying to understand the current generation, mainly his son Bobby, who's always up on the latest trends. Maybe back then it was prop comedy or something. I don't know. It was just fish. He just trying to find common ground, and the premise being that because of propane, if you know King of the Hill, the main character sells propane and propane accessories, and is just in love with propane. He ends up working in Saudi Arabia for like the last like 6-7 years or something like that. And he's selling propane over there in and while living in I guess a town that is basically like a cookie cutter version of perfect America. Like just, the same houses everywhere, nice white picket fences, nice lawns. He is basically living in a time capsule of his favorite time. So the world, COVID happened, everything happened that happened to us here in the last 7 to 8 years, and he's now coming back to live home and just kind of being hit with everything all at once. So if anything, he's even more, disassociated with what's going on now. But yeah, it's great. The biggest, I guess, things people might have issues with is, I guess, mainly the voice acting. For the most part, a lot of people reprise their roles. Unfortunately, there were a couple people that that sadly passed away that voiced some prominent roles, like the voice actor for Dale and Luann and Lucky, and they got replaced by, well, at least Dale's voice. We don't know if they're going to replace the other actors or if they're going to write them off or find some other avenue. But the person that used to do the voice of some of the other characters is now also doing the voice of Dale. And they did record like half the lines or half of the episodes with the original voice actor before he passed. So, but they weren't in the sequential order, so the voice kind of bounces back and forth. That can be a little jarring. And they also replaced one of the main characters with another voice actor, and they just sound it's completely different. And that could just take some getting used to. But that is just more of a reality with just voice acting in general. Sometimes voices just get replaced due to unfortunate circumstances or some other circumstances. But yeah, just gives me hope for some revivals, and actually put on the docket as well Gumball, because that's a show from Cartoon Network that my brother and I adore. Like, I don't know, we just find it hilarious. We love the creativity with it. It was created by Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network's like primary studio in Europe, I believe. And it's like a mixed media show. Like it follows, the titular Gumball, who's a cartoon cat, and his family. But the characters, while being 2D cartoon characters, the world is basically rendered in photorealism. So when they're outside, it looks like, real grass, real trees. It's basically a CG environment. And the rest of the characters range from claymation, CG, stop motion. It's just all over the place. And the plots are wacky. And it had a pretty long run on Cartoon Network. It ended. It was fine. We didn't feel like it needed a revival. It didn't necessarily end in a cliffhanger. It's just a comedy. There wasn't really like a overarching plot that was like, oh no, we needed to finish. But for whatever reason, they decided to revive it, and that's another show that was still great. So it just felt like my brother and I were 2 for 2 on shows that we really loved, just getting really great revivals. And if anything, because Gumball was just on Hulu now, there were definitely a lot of things done in the show now that you could tell definitely would not have been done if it was airing on Cartoon Network. Not that it suddenly became like a more adult show, but there were a lot of jokes that were like, oh, okay, this is too gross or too maybe vulgar. I don't know. They kind of toe the line. I don't know. It's interesting. It's hilarious, but they push a lot of boundaries that feel both natural but also surprising. And I guess it kind of worked in his favor. Like, I don't remember the last time I laughed out loud multiple times on one episode of a show, let alone a show whose episodes are 11 minutes each. But yeah, that's pretty much it as far as I'm watching. I mean, I don't know if
high praise for various IPs being revived in a way all around.
Yeah, I mean, Paper, like, I'm happy to hear that a spin-off, like, it's something to look forward to, whether or not you're a fan of The Office even, which honestly sounds really great. Like, should be able to stand on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Can't think of any other revivals, but, I mean, might as well jump to the next topic. No point in dragging this on, so let's let Jason drive on his impressions of Drag and Drive or Drag X Drive or Drag Drive.
Drag and Drive.
There's always debate on how that's pronounced.
There's literally no debate. It's Drag and
Wait,
Drive.
how did Nintendo say it?
A real
Drag and Drive.
Yeah, there should be no Hunter situation.
It's Drag and Drive.
Yeah. Drag and Drive, so that's
Drag
like the
and
official
Drive.
Nintendo.
Correct.
Hunter and Hunter.
Okay.
Drag and Drive.
No, my anime heads out there will appreciate
weird.
that one.
To your point about not dragging things out, I have been sitting on these impressions for a while. This and is this seat taken? Another game I've been playing. I think it's like a month ago they came out.
Another twofer.
Yeah, it is like a month ago that they both came out. News cycle was busy. Angel had an hour plus of Japan adventures. Pokemon Worlds we talked about. Like, it took a while to get here, but we're here. So yeah, Drag and Drive. I think to preface this, so anyone who's been following Nintendo for a while now knows that one of the hallmarks of like how Nintendo does game design, like their game design process, is to come up with a fun new mechanic and only then figure out a game to build around it and see what IP may make sense to apply to it. Like, that's how the destruction system of Donkey Kong Bonanza came to be. It's the swim and shoot system in Splatoon. And literally just the other day, Bloomberg had an article out where they were interviewing a former Nintendo developer, I think his name was like Ken Watanabe or something. I've never heard of him before, but he was a foreign Nintendo developer who worked on Splatoon, and he confirmed that it is truly the internal MO for Nintendo. They come up with an idea, and he described it as them taking the idea and then putting a skin or a wrapper around the mechanic, and that becomes the game. And I feel like Drag and Drive, it's interesting this interview came out when it did, because I feel like Drag and Drive is the answer to the question that nobody's asking in parallel with this process, which is, what if there isn't a good wrapper around the mechanic? Like, what if they have a mechanic? Like, what if you have this neat gameplay idea and you just can't stick the landing on what to do with it? Whether it's time constraints, budget constraints, whatever, you just can't get there. And that's kind of what Drag and Drive feels like. Because here's the thing. If you're willing to give the controls a go and find a comfortable way to do so, there is something fun at the heart of the game, but it's in a rather un-Nintendo wrapper, and they don't seem to do much beyond like the kernel of the core gameplay. It just kind of ends at that gameplay. Like, it's interesting. It's very un-Nintendo. So for those who haven't been
I physically can't play it.
What?
I physically can't play it.
Yeah, currently you physically cannot. Yeah, that's true, because you were over here the other day, and I was like, you want to try? And we realized you actually couldn't. But yeah, so to explain why you can't play it, for those who haven't been paying much attention to Drag and Drive, the whole shtick of the game is that you're playing wheelchair basketball, although Nintendo inexplicably never refers to it as such. But nonetheless, you have the two Joy-Con controllers, and they serve as your two arms, pushing and pulling the wheels of the chair, with different motions. You hold the controllers on their side, use the built-in mouse functionality, and then you kind of move them either in tandem with one another or in isolation from one another to move forward,
this game could
backwards,
have been called Arms.
turn. It could have been called Arms too, yeah. But yeah, and you're using them to turn and move and everything. And then when it comes time to shoot the basketball, you make a shooting gesture with your Joy-Con in hand, flick of the wrist, via motion control, and send the ball to the net. So it's a mix of mouse control and motion control. And of course, since this is basketball, there's a button to pass. And of course, since this is a chair with wheels, you've got shoulder buttons you can use to hard brake should you need to come to an immediate stop in the middle of the court or whatever. And that's the crux of the experience. It's basketball with these kind of simulated controls. And assuming you can find a comfortable way to sit with the Joy-Con 2s as mice and glide them around on their sides, it does work pretty well. Like for me, we have these like Ottoman like footstool cube cubby like container things, like cloth covered, that are by our couch, and I basically sat on the floor and my arms were at the footstool ottoman thing was like the right height for my arms to use that as my surface, and I had my back against the couch, and that was actually pretty comfortable, like slide the controls around with. Obviously a desk would work as well. I've found that even some materials, if you want to try it on your leg, some materials work, not denim very well, but you can use your legs decently enough if you want to slide the mouse on there. But yeah, that's basically the basics of the game. And then layered on top of this, Nintendo also added a trick system and some more advanced moves because, you see, this isn't a regular basketball court. Oh, no. One of the unique features of Drag and Drive is the basketball court has walls that are like mini half pipes, like little ledges you can go up and over. So you can do things like launch into the air, do a spin, and then dunk. Or you can flip both controllers up real quick when holding the brake and now let you hop. Or you can like lift one at a time and you can do a wheelie, like that sort of stuff. And it's the basic mouse controls tied with these more advanced moves. That is where the meat of the gameplay experience actually is. Like you're not just shooting, you're not just passing, you're not just defending. I didn't even mention defending. So yeah, defending, you can ram head on into your opponent and it'll knock the ball out of their hand if they're holding it. That's defending. But anyway, you're not just doing these basics. You're trying to nail tricks when you take the shot. You can earn bonus decimal points on top of your regular 2 or 3 pointers if you succeed in a trick while doing your shot. Why is it decimal points? I could not tell you. It's kind of odd, but it why not just a full point? But it does help create a bit of a skill system in the same way that like Rocket League, you have like simply hitting the ball into the net, or you can do all sorts of weird off the wall maneuvers. The only difference here is the more advanced skills actually are reflected and impact the scoreboard directly in Drag and Drive. So I have to imagine, like, when cooking up the game, this was probably the angle where Nintendo thought there could be some depth, like learning all these fancier moves. Like when you're not in a match, they actually really encourage you to understand a deeper move set. You could do various mini games around the park to hone your skills with turning, with like half pipe jumps, understanding how to gain top speed, doing tricks, jumping via like this jump rope mini game, all that sort of stuff. And while I don't have those skills, I've competed against folks who do, and there is an impressive flow you can get into with this game if you do master all those controls. But I think part of the reason I perhaps haven't achieved these skills, my overall gaming abilities aside, is probably the first point that's really against Drag and Drive, which is that it showcases the mouse controls well, but in the process of doing so, it also showcases the pitfalls of the mouse controls. Like for precision pointer-based activities, the mice on the Joy-Con 2, they're solid. But when you're essentially doing large movements in quick succession, it's easy for the controls to not feel like, I don't know if I want to actually say they're unreliable, because I can't actually tell if it's me or the game. That's the problem. But that's a question I've never had to think about with like a good old joystick and buttons, or with like normal pointer or cursor-based mouse experiences. Like here, like, you know if it's you or if it's the controls that are the problem. Yet here, even though they are on the one hand making the experience more visceral, they also feel kind of like detached in a way. Like when I nail a rebound to a fast break to a 3-pointer, it feels great to do it when I do it. But when I flub it, or actually even in the process of nailing it, I don't know if I can fully tell you how much of that is me doing it correctly versus the luck of the controls just connecting in the right way in the right moment, if that makes sense. Like there's a separation there that's kind of weird. Like you don't really have a full sense of how much is you versus how much is the controls being responsive or not. And maybe it's something that requires more practice, which again is something the game tries to give you lots of through all the mini games. And that one thing I said one thing bad about the games, and I'll say something good. That is actually something I do like about Drag and Drive. They bundle these mini games into the core experience pretty well. So basically, when you boot up the game, you're dumped into a park. This park is your online lobby, but it's also like just a thing you go hang out. Like, it's comprised of 2 courts and a bunch of areas for the mini game. So you can watch other matches going on if people are in the same lobby as you. While you wait for your match, you could go do a mini game. You could do it offline too if you don't want to be interrupted. You could cheer on other players. Like, your hand movements remain mapped to your Joy-Con 2s at all times when you're in the game. So you can clap for folks. You can roll up and high five someone, to mixed results usually. But it really does feel like you're kind of hanging out in this park. And then every 2 matches that occur in that park, in that lobby, the game then takes everyone together over to one of the mini games and does one of the mini games just to add some variety. Then you go back to the main game, then back to the main game, that sort of thing. So that whole communal space you share with real players, where you can kind of roam around freely and do all these things and watch other people do these things, that's maybe the best thing theming wise going on with Drag and Drive. Like, that there's canned reaction messages you can send to people. You can, like I said, high five or wave at them or clap for them, and it does kind of capture the feel of you like going to a local basketball court or like a skate park in town or something, and just like hanging out with the people there. Like, it's not just menus to navigate to all the stuff the game has, and I got to commend Nintendo for that. Like, that's well themed, but that's also where the game just stops. Like, literally, there's nothing beyond this. You can, I guess, earn some trophies from the mini games. You can lightly customize the color and accessory, like the color accents and accessories on your player. That's it, though. Like, you got the park, you got the matches in the park, and as far as I can tell, you can't even choose to mix and match a park with friends or a park with strangers. It's kind of similar to Mario Kart World in that regard, where you kind of have to, like, pick, do you want to be with friends? Do you want to be a stranger? Maybe a friend shows up. Like, that's sort of the same weird situation. And I think it's just kind of drab. Like, it's cool you can interact with people, but none of the characters have personalities, let alone faces. There's no identifying traits outside of any... you could pick one of 3 different body shapes with different stats, but there's no identifying traits beyond that. There's only one park with its one look and feel. The minigames are set in the same place with that same look and feel. Like, Nintendo's king of these amazing IPs and coming up with memorable characters, and it's just not here. I mean, this is the company that, like, they made something like Pushmo or Dylan's Rolling Western. They're these small eShop only projects initially that still had a ton of personality, and Drag and Drive is just so, like, plain. And even within that plainness, there's, like, no variety. And then on top of that, the one shining opportunity for multiplayer is also squandered. Like I said, you can play with friends online. And turning on game chat, I did try it with your camera.
Say that one more time. You can or can't?
You can play online with friends. And you can do game chat, and it is kind of fun. I did this. It is kind of fun to, like, turn on your game chat camera and watch your friends scramble around while trying to figure out the controls while you're trying to figure out the controls. Like, it is pretty fun in its own way. But as someone, and I'm not trying to do this, it's like, I got to play it in April, but I played Drag and Drive in a unique environment back in April at the Switch 2 preview event because it was local multiplayer. And the final game doesn't have local multiplayer. They spoofed online in person, but you were sitting there with 5 other people, total of 6 of you in the match, all lined up. And, like, game chat does a good job of emulating the experience to a degree, but there is some, like, little Nintendo magic in doing it locally. Like, if you do game chat, every person has to buy the $20 game, right? But if you had it accessible to a group of people, like at a kickback and maybe with a few drinks, and there's some folks trying it for the first time, like, that's the recipe for, like, classic Nintendo multiplayer fun, even with the drabber aesthetic of Drag and Drive. And the game just doesn't offer that. It feels like such a whiff. Like, that's what made me interested in the game to begin with in April. And it's just not there in the final game. So it kind of goes back to, like, my initial comment about the game. I think it's like there's this kernel of a good gameplay mechanic, and Nintendo simply didn't put in the right wrapper that we'd expect from them. And maybe there's ways they could have done it better, like hidden the fact that there's not much here. Like, if it was a free Switch Online game, like Tetris 99, that completely changed my perspective here. Or hey, even if they want to make some more revenue, make it exclusive to Switch Online's expansion pack, the higher price tier. Like, that could have been cool. But as a $20 standalone experience that requires other $20 purchases just to play with friends, which is arguably where the game shines best, at least from my experience. Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow if you're spending like $80 to $100 to do like, 5 or 6 of you in a match. And that's a bummer because like the controls aren't perfect, but it is a game that does feel unique to Switch too. Like even in the way HD Rumble is used with the Joy-Cons as you're kind of moving around the wheel, like there's some good like traction feelings. Like it is really cool, and it comes together in a way that does feel different from other gaming experiences, even just compared to like a normal mouse control or a normal motion control. Like this does feel unique, and it gives you a good workout. My arms were tired. It just needs more oomph beyond what it has, and it seems like it's not going to get it. So that's kind of a bummer. But there's something in there that's fun, but it's just not packaged right. Yeah, so that's Dragon Drive. But if you want to talk about a game that is wrapped in a fun package or a fun personality, I also wanted to touch on Is This Seat Taken, which is an indie game that was revealed in the indie world in August from a studio called, I don't know if it's pronounced Poti Poti or Potty Potty, Poti Poti. This is their first game, and we've got almost the exact opposite scenario here, where it's a ton of personality on top of a pretty like simple, light gameplay mechanic. But it works well, and if this ends up sounding like something up your guys' alley, it's only $10 on the eShop, totally worth the asking price. So at its core, this is a game of logic puzzles that require you to find solutions that meet specific conditions. So you follow the story of a group of like anthropomorphic shapes who live in a world full of other anthropomorphic shapes, and this particular set of anthropomorphic shapes are following their dreams of trying to make it big and make a movie. So this requires them to go to the airport, take buses and ferries to places, attend acting classes, go to other movies, have extracurricular outings together at sporting events. You name it, they're doing it. And it's your job to make sure everyone gets the seat they want at each of these locations. So for every stage, you're given a group of shapes with specific, like shape people, with specific requests, and you've got to drag and drop. Drag and drive, drag and drop. Anyway, you got to drag them to the seat that best matches their need. So, for example, on a bus, some people may want a window seat, while others may want an aisle. Some may want to talk to someone else. Some may want to be surrounded by nothing, by quietness, to take a nap. Some may want to sit with a specific person. Others may not smell good, and others will then refuse to sit in their vicinity. And as you place and move around each little shape person with the cursor, you come closer to 100%ing that specific stage. And it's all very low stakes, very low pressure. The game's published by Wholesome Games, so that basically means cozy game, no time limits, no lives, no game overs. Each stage usually has like 3 or 4 rounds of seating scenarios, and some of the shape people from like the last round will carry over while others will leave. So there is this element of the game kind of building upon itself as you go through each of the stages. And should you successfully nail every seeing assignment and 100% all the stages in a given city, and there's usually 5 or 6 stages per city. I think there's 5 cities in total. But if you complete each city at 100%, you then unlock a bonus stage per city. But again, no pressure. You can just not seat some people or seat them against their wishes, although I don't know why you would do that in a game where it's all about seeing them correctly. But either way, like there's no pressure. You can play however you want. And as you go through these stages, there's like these little vignettes and funny little dialogue scenes with the shape people trying to pursue their dreams, and new elements are introduced, like sitting versus standing in a stadium, or letting you manipulate folding chairs as well as the people, or you may need to put some luggage in a train storage area, and it's kind of just like a shape fitting puzzle at that point. Or later on, there's like these airflows you control with air conditioners. So some people want to be in the airflow and some don't. So you have to take that into consideration. But you can toggle the airflow on and off. Like it's just enough to keep things interesting. Although admittedly, by the tail end of the game, it does start to feel a smidge repetitive due to just repeating environments and scenarios. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the game. It's all bundled up in like this charming package. It's sort of like a note paper aesthetic. The shape people kind of look like cousins, like distant cousins of like the Snipper Clips characters. And there are a few aspects I could probably improve upon. Like right now, you use the joystick to pick up and plop your shape people into their seats, or you can use touch if you're playing in handheld. But playing this on Switch 2, I couldn't help but think how perfect it'd be with the Joy-Con mouse. Or more significantly, even if they don't add mouse support, some sort of undo button or feature would go a long way. Some of these seats get close together, and it's easy to grab and drop the wrong person. Or if you put someone down, it'll pick up someone else, which then upends things a bit. Or, if you find that a condition wasn't met and you're like 3 steps away from where the condition was previously met, if you could like undo versus having to recreate it, that'd be nice. But overall, it's just a very chill, enjoyable little game. I got like 6-7 hours out of it. Presentation's charming. Like I said, I'd easily recommend it at $10 if this sounds like your type of puzzle game. I think it's the debut of the studio. Like I know I said that at top, but I think it's the debut. And for a debut game for the studio, they nailed it. It's a pretty cool experience. So yeah, Dragon Drive maybe underperformed a little, but Is This Seat Taken was quite a nice little surprise. And that's it for Jason's belated game impressions and our only, I think, Nintendo topics this episode.
Yeah, I think it definitely caught my eye when I saw it during the presentation. I mean, it just has one of those titles that this is 100% just judging a book by its cover. But when I heard like Is This Seat Taken, my first thought was like, oh, this is probably just going to be a good game. And I'm glad that it was, or at least it didn't break that.
It's one of the rare games that Jason beat. I beat it.
Yeah, that presumptuous attitude. Hey, there you go. If that's not an endorsement, I don't know what is.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, I mean, I guess unless there's any other topics, Kevin, Jason,
that'll do it for me.
Hey, did I just cut off randomly?
Toss it back on to Jason to do the housekeeping.
Can you guys
We
hear
have
me?
lost Jason.
Well, guess I'm gonna have to do the housekeeping this time. Oh man,
Rip it.
All right. Okay, shoot. All right, this is literally off the cuff.
there he goes.
I was literally gonna say hello and welcome to.
Hey, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you because I just completely got disconnected from the call. Can you guys still hear me?
Thank you for listening. We are on everything. Google,
I think that's what he says.
Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Oof.
Hold up. There's
Google
Podcasts
hi,
is a
I'm
thing?
back. Can you hear me?
There he is.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you.
So,
Actually, no, I
weird
can't
thing.
hear you. Keep going, Angel.
Wait, hold on.
Okay,
You gotta
so-
hear what just happened. I said
already
it's a
started
game.
the
No. I said, believe it or not, I beat it. The game, right? Like it's a game I beat. And then for some reason,
we established that, and then we said, if that's not an endorsement, I don't know what is.
right? But in that moment, my AirPods disconnected from the device I'm talking to you on to record this episode, switched to my Apple Watch, and suddenly, out of nowhere, Michael Jackson's "Beat It" started playing. I don't know how that happened. Siri wasn't going, I don't think. I mean, clearly she was. But, yeah, so that, and then I couldn't get back onto the call because Michael Jackson's "Beat It" was playing on my watch, and it was confusing. So
well,
that's where I
that
went.
was worth interrupting my housekeeping.
You may carry on. I just thought it was important for everyone to know that I just got Michael Jackson bombed.
Well, the podcast can be found on all of those places that I mentioned. Hopefully, I didn't miss any.
I'm curious. What did you say?
And
Well, I guess I'll have to listen back later.
you have to listen back. I'm sure I missed one. But let's see, what else do we do? You can find us at roundtable.com. There's some email that Jason set up that will ping people that subscribe to it.
That's true. I never mentioned that, but that's true. You can subscribe to us via email at roundtown.com. Yeah.
Wow, look at that. All right. Next episode will probably be recording on the 22nd, so I guess it'll probably go around the 23rd.
Wait. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, yeah. I guess so.
Yeah.
It might be
have
an
it coming
interesting
next
one because
week.
there are serious rumblings of a Nintendo Direct at the tail end of this week. So,
Spicy.
yeah.
Other than that, you can find each of us if you choose to follow us. I have been taking a kind of a sabbatical from Instagram for a bit. I did do a lot. I have been drawing. I have things I want to post, but between the recovery of the hand and kind of just taking my time before jumping back in, there will be stuff. But if you do want to follow that, you can follow it on Instagram at World of Weiros. That is World of Weiros. You could follow Jason on, I guess, Threads, Instagram, and X. All of them JSR7.
Yes, but I will never call it X. It is always Twitter in my heart.
Yeah.
But it is JSO7, yeah.
And same thing with Kevin on Twitter as well with KV and Gomi, unless you use a different one.
Nope, that is it.
Has it always been that one? Cool. And unless I forgot anything else, I guess Jason, the final word before you get, I guess, disconnected again.
I got beat it bombed.